Eurydice and Orpheus. Not Orpheus and Eurydice. In an uncertain field, in an uncertain country, at an uncertain time, you may or may not see two elm trees stood with their roots in the sky and their branches in the ground, which is certainly an unfortunate position for elm trees to be in. They tend to prefer their branches skyward and roots groundward. And if you listen carefully, you may or may not hear voices raised in argument, understandably, as they've been in this way for more than 3,000 years, which is a very long time to be upside down and arguing. A very, very long time. And this is the story of how those elm trees came to be in that unfortunate position, and why they've been arguing for more than 3,000 years. First, let me introduce Eurydice, a dryad. That's like a wood nymph, a tree spirit, a magical being of sorts, which is pretty special as it goes. But Eurydice is no ordinary dryad. Eurydice is the daughter of the god Apollo, who's god of archery and healing and light and truth, among other things. And as such, she's inherited some pretty special skills and power unmatched by most mortals. Now, to Orpheus, a man, a very skilled musician, with a godlike talent for songwriting. It is said that his songs can charm the birds from their trees, the rivers from their banks, and the gods from their judgment. But he is, as we shall see, nevertheless, a man. Now, Eurydice and Orpheus met under an elm tree, understandably, as Eurydice is an elm tree dryad. And understandably and predictably, they fall in love. And they fall a very, very long way. This was a love to last an eternity. This was a love that would stop the world from turning, the poets from writing, the gods from meddling, and the storytellers from storytelling, all so that they could listen, watch, and remember it the better. This was a love that no one could say was anything less than legendary. But this love was cursed. For not 2 days into their marriage, Eurydice was bitten by a snake, a deadly snake, for even magical beings cannot heal themselves. And so, long before her time, and before very long at all, Eurydice was dead. She passed out of the realms of the living, through the gates of Tynerus, the gates of Hades, through and over the river Styx, with the ferryman waiting, past the three-headed hellhound Cerberus who guards the underworld, until at last she arrived in darkest Hades, the kingdom of death, lorded over by the god Hades himself, with his wife Persephone at his side. This was the one-way ticket. But Eurydice felt cheated. If my love is going to be sang about for 3,000 years, I ought to at least feel some of it. So she bargained with Hades. Hades, I am Eurydice, daughter of Apollo. You've made a mistake. I demand a second try. And, well, no one knows what she said next. But Apollo must have been smiling on her, because what she said next touched the hearts of Hades and Persephone and all the gods. Persephone begged her husband, and Hades relented. Very well. I don't know why, but my wife has taken a liking to you. and I owe her a favour. If you are truly the daughter of Apollo, then you shall have your second chance. But first, you must shoot an arrow round a corner to strike a target placed out of sight. You must heal a wound with no tools nor medicine. And third, you must bring light into this darkest part of darkest Hades. Do these 3 things for me, and you shall have your second chance. Without a second thought, Eurydice jumped up. She took a bow and arrow from the hands of a waiting demon, notched the arrow into the bow, drew it back, and casting a prayer up to her father Apollo, the god of archery, among other things, loosed the arrow. It bounced off 2 walls and lodged itself firmly into a target just out of sight, just a little left of dead centre. Next, she laid her hands on the broken leg of an unfortunate soul, and, thinking of her father Apollo, the god of healing, among other things, with a word, a whisper, and a bend in the wind, the leg righted itself. Third, Eurydice knelt, and she closed her eyes, and she cast her mind to the sun that lights the realm of the living. And, being the daughter of Apollo, the god of light, among other things, just then a crash, a fanfare, a burst of light, and a shout as Orpheus entered the hall behind her. "Eurydice, my love, I have come to save you. Hades, lord of death, I have entered the gates of Tyranus. I have crossed the river Styx. I have charmed the 3-headed hellhound Cerberus to sleep, and now I'm here to beg for the life of my love, Eurydice." And Orpheus sang sad songs for his love for Eurydice. And Orpheus's songs touched the hearts of Hades and all the gods. And Hades was so beguiled that he forgot all about his promise to Eurydice. He allowed Orpheus to take Eurydice back to the realm of the living, on one condition. On his journey back to the realm of the living, he must not look back to Eurydice. If, before they both felt the warmth of the sun on their skin, Orpheus looked back but once, Eurydice's soul would be brought back to Hades forever and unchangeably. Orpheus thanked Hades, took Eurydice by the hand, and left. Eurydice rather miffed, as she had rightfully and fairly secured her release with no catches or clauses, but she reasoned she was at least on her way back to the realm of the living. All he would have to do is not look back. They passed a very confused-looking Cerberus, and he did not look back. They crossed the river Styx with a very perplexed-looking ferryman, for this was the first ever return fare, and he did not look back. For 3 days of walking through the underworld, Orpheus did not look back. And they entered Tyranus. Orpheus went through the gates and felt the warmth of the sun on his skin. And here, dear listeners, is the moment that has perplexed, bamboozled, mithered and bothered poets and scholars for thousands of years. When Orpheus felt the sun on his skin, a weight lifted from his shoulders, a breath of fresh air entered his lungs, and he turned to his love Eurydice. And inside the cave, away from the light of the sun, Eurydice saw her love turning. She ran to him. "No, turn back!" But the sound never reached his ears. With the image of her love turning in the sun, Eurydice found herself back in the hall of Hades, more than a little angry. "I warn you," said Hades. He looked back. "Now your soul is mine, forever, fairly and unchangeably so." But Eurydice felt cheated. "But I secured my own release. I fired an arrow round a corner and hit a target placed out of sight. I healed a wound with no tools or medicine. I brought light into the darkest Hades. You owe me life. By our agreement, you owe me life. I have unfinished business with Orpheus." And, being the daughter of Apollo, the god of truth among other things, the truth of her words touched the heart of Persephone, and of Hades, and of all the gods. And Persephone glared at her husband. "Very well. You shall live in the world of the living, but not in your human form. You are a dryad, a wood nymph, an elm tree spirit. You and your love shall live in the realm of the living in your spirit form. Yes, forever twinned and twined together. Your roots shall be in the sky and your branches in the ground. You shall be upside down to remind you of your tricks in the underworld. Forever. Your wood shall be scorched so you'll never feel the joy of leaves. Yes, you shall live forever. In charred wood and gold you shall live." And still now, and forever so, in some uncertain field, in an uncertain country, at an uncertain time, you may or may not still see 2 elm trees, upside down with their roots in the sky and their branches in the ground. And in threads of gold and wood that's been charred black, you may still see Eurydice and her Orpheus. And if you listen closely, you may or may not hear Orpheus desperately trying to explain, or perhaps understand, why on earth he turned. Thank you very much. Stay safe.